Hi, Bill Vales here. I'm here with Tony DeAngelis, and as you can probably see, we have a lot of rocks and minerals that we're going to talk about. But for this show, we're going to go into the dark. Okay. Now, Tony, thank you very much for being here.
Oh, always a pleasure.
Great, great. Now, most of us know from picking up stones in our driveway, perhaps on a walk, something like that, that rocks and minerals have certain attributes such as color, density. Maybe if we're even lucky enough to find a crystal, there's a different crystal structure and a hardness.
Right.
Okay. But there's also other attributes that are really fascinating attributes, and that's where you come into the show, that you have quite a collection here of fluorescent minerals that show off the fluorescent attributes of a lot of minerals. So what is fluorescence?
Okay, fluorescence is a property exhibited by certain minerals, small percentage, where the minerals, because of the makeup of the atoms and so on, when ultraviolet light, which is fairly energetic, hits the mineral, it will cause the atoms, the electrons, to jump up to a higher energy level. Now, because of the stabilization constant, they want to get back down. When they do, they release energy, and they release it in the form of light. And visible light is a lower energy and wavelength than ultraviolet. So consequently, it emits the visible light as the electrons jump back down. That's not something you see, but that's what causes the emission of the light. And there's two types of ultraviolet light. You have long wave and you have short wave.
Okay.
The long wave is basically harmless to skin and eyes and so on. They used to use it for day glow paints and psychedelic posters and stuff.
I had those in the 60s.
Right. And so those things would glow very well. Even in dark rides and amusement parks, they used long wave ultraviolet. It's inherently safe. There's no worries about it.
Okay, and that's being emitted by this
That's
wand
correct.
here.
Yep, and most of the long wave minerals are pastel colored. They're you know, pretty much nice, clean, muted colors. Then you have, on the other hand, you have the short wave lamps. Those are very, very high energetic. They're like 25, 37 angstroms as opposed to 3,700. So they're more energetic, and 90% of the minerals fluoresce under short wave.
Okay, now angstrom is a measurement
Of the wavelength of light. Right.
Okay.
So the shorter wavelength, the more energy imparted to the light.
Okay.
And the minerals that react to these are generally vibrant, very bright, very showy, and you know, they're really spectacular under the shortwave lamps.
Okay. Now, I know some other attributes. Some of these minerals and rocks are radioactive.
That's correct.
And you're going to demonstrate, or at least show us that attribute when it's appropriate. And I'm not too close to anything radioactive.
No worries.
Okay. So, how about showing us some fluorescent light, some fluorescent minerals and rocks? And
Okay, I think the first one is this one box because they're all very much the same. These are all examples of hyalite opal, which is, these happen to be found in North Carolina. It's a silica mineral that deposits on the matrix. And there is a uranium content in there, very low, but discernible, and that's what gives it its beautiful color, which is a characteristic green.
oh boy, look at that.
So, and it's probably the brightest of all the minerals.
Now, if you were hiking along and you came upon these rocks in the form of outcrops, you might not think anything about them.
No, I mean under regular light, you probably wouldn't think too much. Now these do have a certain amount of radioactivity. It's not terribly high. This one's a little more, and as you can see, it's green even in daylight. And the higher uranium content makes it brighter than most of the others. So
And this is under shortwave light.
that's correct.
And you're using a Geiger counter there.
That's
to
right.
Demonstrate.
So that's one of them. Now, I have two other
So
radio.
these would have been probably, if in North Carolina, probably part of the Appalachian mountain chain.
Right, and in the pegmatites there, I mean, you can see this is sort of
Yeah, I see.
mica schist and granite, right.
Schist.
So that's where these were found, and there was quite a lot of it there, and you know, it's a really beautiful rock.
It certainly is.
Now,
Okay.
I want to just close this up so I can show you the other, because I have some radioactive rocks here, and they bear looking at. One is autunite.
Autunite.
This is a uranium mineral, a secondary uranium mineral, and this is extremely hot. It is also very bright.
Oh, look at that.
Now, as far as radioactivity,
Oh, and listen to that.
yeah, it's green
Yeah.
with a warning light on. So this is an extremely hot mineral
Yeah.
and very beautiful. Now, perhaps the most beautiful mineral, though, in my
Well,
opinion,
these are safe for us.
yes,
to
they
do.
are. We're not going to grow a third arm or anything. This is Andersonite. It's a coating, a very dusty coating on
Yes.
rock, found mostly in Utah, and it's a hydrated alteration product of uranium as well. You can see there's some,
Okay.
but not
as hot as
not
the
as hot.
autunite.
But the color is unique in the mineral
Oh.
world. It's this turquoise sort of stop and go light greenish bluish color.
Wow. And the pattern is almost in a dendritic.
Right, because it's
pattern.
just deposits that form on the surface. So through the plastic it doesn't show well, but when you have it open, you can see the beautiful color.
Spectacular.
Yeah. So that's it for the radioactive.
Like an aqua.
Right.
Aqua color.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, as we move on from there, we have a lot of the different minerals here, and we'll be able to show you them. There's a lot of repetition in, many of them that are the same, but you were talking about crystals, this is the habitat of one of them. This is called X-ray selenite. And these are all natural crystals, but as you look at it, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but you can see the hourglass pattern
Absolutely.
within these crystals, and they
Let's
all,
hold that up to the camera.
Okay.
And see if,
I don't know if, will that show
Mark
it?
can pick that up. Okay.
Okay.
Now I think it's important to mention
Yep.
for our audience that these are not cut and polished.
No, that's exactly as they are found.
This is how they are found
Right.
in nature, and this is the crystal habit.
Yep.
Okay.
I forget whether it's tetragonal or whatever, but it is the crystal habit. It is the natural way that the crystals are found, maybe covered in sand or in a matrix, but that is...
Yeah. Now, when rocks are forming from a molten state, they need to have the room
Yes.
to be able to grow. And one of the nice things about a pegmatite,
Yeah,
which is
lot.
prized by mineral collectors, is that there's room in a pegmatite
Right, lots
for
of it.
minerals to grow very slowly and form their beautiful crystal shape. And this shape mirrors the alignment of the atoms.
Yes, exactly.
So they're not cut.
Nope. And now we have a couple of others. These two minerals that are very bright blue are called baratovite.
Wow.
And that's from the Koala Peninsula in Russia.
Okay.
They are pretty neat. I grouped them sort of for color that are close to each other. This is bonitoite. Sadly, it's not a great specimen. Bonitoite is a blue mineral in daylight, and it's used as gems. So any good quantity is quickly taken by jewelers to cut into gemstones.
And is that it? Those are crystals.
Yes,
there.
they are.
Yeah.
Those are pieces
Wow.
of crystal aggregate.
Yeah.
Now, this is another one, a little partial
Yeah.
crystal.
Beautiful blue.
Yeah, and the same there, but you don't find much of that around.
Yep.
Now, this thing here, I'd want you to feel. This is a very heavy mineral.
Okay, this is very heavy.
Yeah, and that's because it's the ore tungsten. This is scheelite. And scheelite is blue always. So during the great hunt for scheelite, for tungsten during the war, people went out west with ultraviolet lights and looked for the blue glow. And that's how they made some major tungsten strikes.
Yeah.
The thing about it is, tungsten, sometimes the scheelite will tend toward white or even a little yellow. And when it does, that's because there's molybdenum in there. So those two are sometimes found together.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other interesting rocks here are calcite. These are what's called trilingula calcite from the original location. And they're bright blue, but they're phosphorescent. Even when you take away the light, they continue to glow a little while.
Oh, so now phosphorescence is another attribute of minerals in addition to fluorescence.
Yep, it's where the energy levels of the atoms are slowly returning. So they slowly emit the light back out.
I see.
And will remain fluorescent even after the exciting ultraviolet is removed.
And I see that has the classic calcite mineral shape.
Yes, the rhombic shape.
Yep, the
Now, the interesting thing about that is that this calcite has two fluorescent modes. Under here, it is fluorescent and phosphorescent.
Okay.
But if you take it and put it under the long wave lamp,
Okay, I'm operating the safer one.
yep, you will see a different fluorescence.
Oh, look at this.
It's pink.
It's pink.
And it won't phosphorus
And
either.
it doesn't have the phosphorus
Nope.
characteristic.
That's right.
But that is a nice soft pink.
Mm-hmm. And yet under the short wave, it's that brilliant blue and phosphorescence.
And it phosphorus.
Right.
Very interesting.
So,
Very interesting. How was the attribute of fluorescence found?
it was actually by accident. It was people working with old-fashioned iron arc, what they call the iron arc lamp. It was just a high-voltage transformer with two pieces of iron. When a spark went across, it produced UV light. And that would evoke some of the minerals. In fact, they use these even in the mines in Franklin, where a lot of famous fluorescents come from, to check for ore. The ore mineral, which was willemite, a zinc sulfide, would glow under the lamp. So they'd use that to check how rich the ore was for many years. Oh, because they didn't have much in the way of ultraviolet light. So, you know, as they continued, more and more came into being. And these are some of the famous fluorescents from Franklin. Franklin, New Jersey, where the zinc mines were, had some of the most fabulous of all fluorescent minerals, and most of these are from Franklin. And you can see the combinations here of red and blue and green, and there's even a little bit on some of them of a little bit of orange interspersed. The yellow mineral is esperite and found nowhere else on Earth. And sadly, with the mines being closed, it's hard to come by, so it's become very expensive.
So these are examples of rocks that have multiple minerals in them.
Right.
Okay.
And, you know, there's...
Without
this,
without a light, they would look...
No, they would look like perfectly ordinary garden variety rocks. I just wanted to pull out a bunch to show you the myriad combinations and stuff.
Look at this beautiful yellow.
Right. That's wollastonite, and this orange is also wollastonite of a different, slightly different composition. And this is this phosphorescent too. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's willemite, but it's called radiating willemite, and it does phosphoresce. Now, if you want to show some of those on the long wave before we get to the cabinet of larger
These
stuff.
are under long wave.
Right. But I do want to show you this under long wave, very intense orange.
Oh boy, that sure
This
is.
exhibits another property called tenebrescence, which is going to knock your socks off, because tenebrescence is a change in the color of the rock itself, not just the... I mean, you can see emitting it's a duller yellow than under long wave, but under the short wave, kept there for a few minutes, the rock itself changes to purple from that grayish...
The rock is now purple.
And that is not a trick. That is the rest of it looks like that greenish gray, and under the lamp. And that's a very rare to have it that defined. Usually it's little bits and spots and stuff that change. But this is a real rich piece, and you can see.
And now it's purple again.
Yep.
And it's still purple. It's all purple.
Yeah. Now exposure to sunlight or to a quartz light will cause that to, bleach back, and that can be done indefinitely.
Okay.
Now you want to.
And this is triboluminescence. Triboluminescence.
Which is also called reverse photosensitivity. No, you get. I'm sorry, I screwed up. Tenebrescence. Excuse me. Triboluminescence is yet another thing.
Okay.
Triboluminescence. I have some barite where if I scratch it like with something hard like dolomite, you'll see little tiny flecks of sparkly sparks. They're really not visible. I don't think the camera would pick them up, but.
Now, I was reading that you may be able, in a dark room, if you were eating a wintergreen lifesaver,
the same thing,
and crunching on it with your teeth, which isn't a good thing to do, you may see some sparks of light.
Yeah, the other thing is, if you don't mind probably getting overrun with ants, get 2 Domino sugar cubes, and in a very, very dark room with your eyes dark adjusted, strike them together and you'll see little blue sparks too. I've done it.
Okay. There's some experiments for you.
Now you wanna...
I think I'd recommend with the wintergreen lifesavers, maybe smash them with a hammer.
Yeah, because if your teeth aren't strong.
As opposed to risking your teeth. But okay, this is.
Now we do have bigger cabinet specimens that you can just look at.
Okay, so Tony, we're here looking at some of your larger examples in what's a beautiful display case.
Thank you.
With a, well, it's going to speak for itself. So.
Yep. You want me to shut the lights?
Why don't you kill the lights?
All righty. Here we go.
Wow.
Now the bulk of these minerals are Franklin minerals.
Okay, so that's Franklin, the Franklin mine in Franklin, New Jersey.
Yep, and the mine's closed in '53 and flooded in '54.
Okay.
No longer accessible at all. So several of these species, like the esperite here, the yellowish, and some of the others, the hardystonite, which is this bluish, are found nowhere else in the world. And because of that, some of them command exorbitant prices.
Look at this one up here with multiple blues.
Yeah, blue, and the blue is, I believe, margarosonite. The red is calcite. The green is willemite. So,
and these tended to be in zinc ores?
Zinc ores. They were usually in the silicates, which they underwent a tremendous amount of metamorphosing in that ore body. So these contained all sorts of strange things. I mean, they're a mineralogist's nightmare. Yeah, they really
look at these going red.
Yep, those are eucryptite. Those are lithium minerals. These 2 are from, I believe, New Hampshire, and these couple are from China, where they found new lithium mines, and they're very brilliant, deep red.
That almost looks like a velvet.
Yes, right.
To me.
It does.
And these were from New Hampshire?
Those first 2. The other 4 were from China. It's a recent discovery there. And, you know, there's some geodes and formations like that.
How long has it taken you to amass your collection of fluorescent?
I'm 63 now. I got my first one probably when I was 13. I didn't even have a lamp. I just bought a piece of fluorescent hyalite and wanted to have it. But in earnest, probably after high school I started. And the thing is, I would alternate. After I became an adult and I'd be working, a couple of years I'd buy fluorescents. Then I'd stop. Then I'd go to fossils. Buy them for a few years, then go back to fluorescent. So it alternated back and forth between the 2 collections.
I see.
But most of these Franklin ones are, I mean, you get some that are like 4 and 5 color, and that are pretty, you know, spectacular in their makeup.
Yeah. Mark, can you get this piece of concrete, I think you said.
Yeah, I can move it out if it would help. This was concrete that was used in building foundation. And in Franklin, they were looking for waste rock, and they used what was mine waste, and you have, you know, willemite and calcite, and inside there's probably little pieces of hardystonite and everything else, and that was just used as fill in the concrete. So it's kind of an interesting thing, and the guy got some big chunks and used a diamond saw to make slabs. Mm-hmm. And if you want to see those others better, you can just move this the other way and do the same thing with these. Move these down, because I use them to block the UV, but they also do. Mm-hmm. Yep. They also diminish the transmission of the color.
Yeah. And these multiple colored examples are
yeah, a lot of them are calcite and willemites, what's polka dot ore and like that. The upper ones blue ones are scheelite, then there's some calcite in there as well. So there's a whole range of color in this stuff, and you know, it's like I said, it's one of my passions of collecting.
I know I brought, on a previous trip down to visit Tony, I brought a geologist friend of mine from Littleton mm-hmm.
That's
worked his life in geology, and he's still shaking his head over this collection.
Well, it's been a lot of years, and you know,
I was remarkable.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to run into a few people, dealers, one in particular who is more or less in with some high roller dealers, not so much money-wise, but when new collections come on the market, they get first crack. Mm-hmm. So he's got me some. I mean, I have one here. It's not really spectacular, but this rock in the back, and even, well, this one has robolingite, which is this reddish stuff, which doesn't seem to be none too great, but it's very rare. Mm-hmm. That other one has sort of a purplish rock that's called chalcite. You can't even find that in the mineral books.
Wow.
It's mentioned but no pictures because it's very rare. It's not spectacular though, but because it's rare, it commands a terrible price money-wise. But I've been lucky enough to, you know, through him, be able to pick up a couple of these rarities. So I've been collecting through a lot of dealers over the years.
Wow. Well, this is great.
Okay.
I think we can...
And the light's back on,
yeah,
huh? Okay.
Yeah.
So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll shut these down.
Well, Tony, what you've shown me here, and I believe our audience, is that there's more to minerals and rocks than simply density, crystal structure, and hardness. I mean, there's a lot of other
there's amazing
attributes associated with minerals and rocks. I want to thank you very much for showing us your collection, sharing your knowledge with us, and I hope to see you again soon.
I hope so, and as I say, you know, the door's always open. Yeah. I have no more enjoyment than sharing this with everyone.
Thank you. And I hope you enjoyed this show, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.